Broadcasting from Silicon Valley, California, this is Conversations with Jennylyn.
You're watching Conversations with Jennylyn. And once again, I've rounded up a bunch of beautiful, strong women to share with you today. Today, two of my guests are in the UK, and we have one young American here present with us. Our topic today is going to be education, different forms of it. And I have with me Sabia Khatun, and she is in the UK and teaches. She has a company called Vodtalk Business, and she will share with us what Vodtalk is all about and why it involves these young people here present on my panel. Welcome to the show, Sabia.
Hello, thank you for having me. If I can just mention that Vodtalk is an associate organization that I actually work with, and it's actually originated from the organization called London Bangla, based in the UK, which started off with people who speak the Bengali language, and also it's because it's in London, you know, it caters for English speaking and the Bengali language. Hence, it's called London Bangla. The associate partners are Vodtalk, Vodcast, you've got LB TV, LB24. They're all associated together. Now, London Bangla, then when they came with Vodtalk, which was only last year, they've had you know, a show which did have youth focused on it. Now, this is a new production of mine, which only came into force last year, and I came up with the idea where, you know, where we can have the youth representing the youth and create awareness for various different topics that they're interested in and they have concerns and issues. So the youth actually, one youth presenter who, you know, I headhunted myself, she came up with the title for the show called Youth Fluent. And we wanted it to be a dynamic youth show where the youth would host it. So it would be youth hosting for the youth, although they want the adults out there, the professionals out there, whether it's to do with health, education, abuse, bullying, you know, money matters, you name it, anything out there to help them with getting their voice out, at the same time helping them develop their personal self-confidence, motivation, and putting it down as a work experience for being able to speak in public. Although it's virtual at the moment, it's a new way of going about, you know, for these youths to come in front of the camera and, you know, and just put their concerns out there, as at the same time gaining as much as they can from there. So it's a lot to do with training and development, and also you've got time management that comes into it. You've got, you know, presentation skills, you know, how to dress, how to talk, how to keep the tone of your voice. So yeah, there's a lot of things that they could be learning from that. I mean, I will go into more details later on, but I think you may want to introduce the girl we have with us today.
Yes, I would. Thank you so much, Sabia. And I'd like to welcome my two young guests, Anita Rea and Betheny Vanduzer. Young ladies, thank you for being available. I know it's night for you, Anita, and Bethany, I hope you didn't miss school to do this.
No, I didn't. I'm online.
Well, I'd like to start with you, Anita. How are you participating in Sabia's program and how is it helping you?
Well, I met Sabia a couple of weeks ago. Me, Mum, and her was having a chat, and then she turned around and said to me, she said, "I've got a youth fluent show, and I want you to be a part of it." And I was like, "Right, okay, how is this gonna be?" So I'm now the host for the Youth Fluent show. That's being held tomorrow, actually, the first one, with me and my co-host Beth. We're just making awareness to other people about what's going on with everyone in the world, because it's different down in Wales than it is everywhere else in the world. So it's just making a difference to people.
Well, I would imagine during a time when everything is happening on camera now, this is a great program, especially for those people who are camera shy. And I'll ask Sabia about that in a minute. Bethany, welcome to my show. And how about you? How are you planning to benefit and help other people on this program?
I hope to make people feel more comfortable with things because personally I'm very uncomfortable with a lot of things.
Do you want to share some of those things that you're uncomfortable with?
As you said, I'm camera shy and I have a hard time talking to people because I'm very shy.
Well, I am so proud of you that you mustered up the courage to do this. This is wonderful.
Definitely.
So, Sabia, how are you managing young women and men who have issues with being in front of a camera when we're living in a world now where it's happening? Our lives are pretty much happening on camera.
Yes, definitely. Unfortunately, it's times like this that I wouldn't say we're not gaining anything. I think because of this pandemic, I got to network and meet people like Anita and Beth and I've got a few other youth fluent hosts and guests that I've had. I've got a wonderful girl. She started again, she was 15 when she started. She was it was the very first time last year that GCSEs in the UK were predicted grades because of the mock through the mock exams rather than doing any kind of assessment. And it's identifying and networking and finding these young people who are coming to me to sort of like suggest, is there any way that we can, show our concern and voice our concern? And especially last year, which Anita will be able to say, I mean, although Anita's GCSEs are this year, and we hope our government are a bit more prepared and they've got something more in place rather than throw things like, I mean, we had horrendous experience last year with some of the young people. We thought they were going to be under this algorithm system where, grades will be predicted by where you live. And, how on earth does that make sense? It was crazy, so the fact that, I think some students and teachers and, other parents, I believe, managed to make some noise to say, well, hold on a minute, this is our kids' future. So that's just one aspect of what our youth are going through. And they were current affairs at the time. And it was at that time that Youth Fluent actually was born, if I can say that. And the young people who were hosting it were able to put those concerns out, things like the free school meals, the work experience in this pandemic, especially if you're a GCSE A-level student, the social media, I mean, it's a big thing now, online virtual learning. How are these young people adapting? And my point was, I wanted to give that platform where they can say out, from them, what it's like, what it feels like, you know, what they're feeling, rather than adults and professionals speak for them. So that's a platform for them to express all of those things, as well as, you know, gaining those skills, like Beth was saying, you know, how can she overcome maybe some of her shyness, you know, when you are, I mean, look, I've been presenting and doing things many years, but I think if Jennylyn might agree with me, there may be some times where even we feel butterflies in our stomach, you know, and you know, these things will be there. It's good, but it's, again, doing this for the youth and creating this platform where they can be part of it and have some sort of ownership. It gives them a sense of responsibility, standing on their own 2 feet, coming up with ideas. So there's a whole lot of things out there for them to learn. And I just want us to be able to Vodtalk, Vodcast, you know, London Bangla, you know, they are there, you know, with open arms to give that platform and invite many others, you know, through young people like Anita and Beth, you know, to sort of like come forward and you know, say that, look, this is what we want to make aware of. It may be something that they are going through that they want to share. So it's all up to them, you know, what they feel comfortable with. And as time goes by, I mean, you know too well as well, Jennylyn, that, you know, the more you practice something, the better you become at it. So yeah, so the training and development is all here for these lovely young people, and I hope that it goes across globally, because it is global, and there are millions of viewers out there. So at the moment it looks like, you know, I mean, for example, we're doing this show where it looks like we're just talking to each other. So once this gets put out, it will be loads of other people, you know, thousands, if not millions, you know, and the more we share for a topic to be made aware of, you know, the more we're making a difference to, you know, ourselves and the wider society, which I hope, you know, these young people will take from us and you know, take from themselves as well. So, yeah.
Thank you so much, Sabia. So, Anita, do you want to share with some of the frustrations that you are experiencing as a young person who is still being educated via the system?
At the minute, also with everyone in year 11 and A levels and all that, they're all meant to be sitting on GCSEs. And it's so frustrating because it was meant to be 60% coursework and then 40% exams. But it's just all coursework now, and if you don't get that coursework in on time, then you get a straight away. It's so frustrating the way that, obviously, hopefully the government is going to be more careful with it all this time, because obviously last year just all went up and then everyone just had their predicted grades. But then this year they're doing, like, obviously in Wales they're doing assessments, they're taking everything as they're meant to be doing. But obviously we can't do the assessments till we're all back in school in the middle of January, which is so frustrating because you just want to get it over and done with, be done and out. I mean, I know one of the girls, she's stressing because she was meant to have an exam last Friday at 9 o'clock, meant to be in school for an hour and 15 minutes, and then come home, and she didn't have nothing to do with the exam. She was going to go in that exam just blind dead. And it's crazy the way everything's been done, like with this COVID and everything. It's just mad.
Thank you, Anita. So that's what's happening in the UK. Bethany, do you want to tell us what's happening in the US? Is it similar? Is it better? Tell us.
In Michigan, we're allowed to go to school, but I'm being kept home because my mom is worried about the parents sending children in with COVID because she's vulnerable. because last year when we had like the flu stuff, well, we still have the flu, but there was always people getting sick from the flu.
So your schools, the schools in Michigan are open?
Yeah,
Oh, wow. Okay, so you were never doing distance learning, or were you and now you've gone back?
we were, and we're back now.
Oh, that I'm happy to hear that. I thought that most of our US schools were doing the distance learning, but that's great that your schools are open. But while you were doing distance learning, did you find that you were okay? Did you feel like you were sort of pushed back? What was that like for you at doing your education at home?
It was harder than it was at school because usually when I'm at school, I have a desk to work at. I mean, I have a desk to work at here, but I don't want to because my bed's more comfortable.
And so if you're working from your bed, do you feel like you're at school or you feel like you're just hanging out? And did that affect your attitude?
Um, I felt like I was just at home, and yes, it did affect my attitude towards school because I was starting to get distant from it.
Thank you so much, Bethany. Anita, do you want to tell us what you think as a student, as a person on the end of this, or the recipient of whatever is being provided? What would you suggest they do different that you think would benefit students more while they're learning at home?
But I think like obviously send like packages home for the people that instead of going on that don't have internet access or like a computer or anything, like yeah, okay, they're doing it over like a little bit over here, but they're not doing it as much. Like they're not sending revision booklets home for the GCSE students or the A levels. They're not doing nothing like that. I mean, they're just putting work up and going, there you go, you need to do it by this deadline. And we're all just sitting there kind of looking at the screen, kind of going, how the hell are we meant to do this without no instructions? I mean, I can sit there and do it for hours, but it's because I've been off school for 4 months, but it's stressful.
So are all the schools, Sabia, do you know, are all the schools in the UK on lockdown?
Well, it's actually quite different. What we have is we have England, Ireland, Scotland, and Wales have different, a level of lockdown. And I think Wales went into lockdown much earlier than we did, around London and the general, UK side, England side. Whereas, and then you have the Scotland, where the first Prime Minister, has her own rules for the level of lockdown it should be. And I think the way they're, obviously doing it is, seeing how affected an area is, and how quickly the viruses are spreading where, and and is the government acting quick enough to say, right, okay, we need to have a total lockdown, and if we do, how are we going to work out how our schools are going to operate, how our businesses are going to operate? So it's actually quite crazy, to be honest with you, because a lot of people, even for myself, sometimes you think, okay, we understand even some of the complicated things, but it seems like, I think the girls will agree as well, that sometimes what's happening now is some of the simple things just seem so silly. You either can go out to work or you can't go out to work. Where's the common sense? Why were kids sent back to school in September in UK? Because as soon as that happened, 2 months later, the surge of the virus, just came like, it just came down like from nowhere. I myself and my whole family, my 2 girls, I think what we believe is back in December last month, although, if I say last year, it seems like such a long time ago, but it was only last month that I think we were experiencing what they call it, the new variant COVID virus, which meant, I mean, we had one of my daughter, my eldest, who's 23 now, her and myself, we had things like nausea and, I mean, I totally had a blackout, to be honest with you.
Do you think you had the virus?
Well, we did do a test and we were tested positive. One of my 15-year-old was tested positive first. I mean, her symptoms were, aches and pains, loss of taste, temperature. So that sounds like what the old symptom is at the moment. The one that everyone has, one of them, the coughing, and everything. Whereas, the new one, it seemed like, I mean, from my own experience, it was like, it just came without much notice. And before you know it, you either want to vomit or, you get nausea, but you do lose sense of taste. But there's no temperature or no aches and pains. And the only way to know if you've got it is go and get the test done. All of those things have affected the education, for kids. And, I actually do believe our kids are so behind with, even though there's supposed to be some virtual learning available, us as parents, responsible parents, we can only go so far of who has the equipment in their home, the laptops, the Wi-Fi, the costs of a broadband, those who can afford it, they can get private tutoring done, private tuition done. What about, all the other?
Isn't your government supplementing? Because as far as I know, in the US, I've been told by an educator that different institutions and different companies.
Well, government are saying that there are computers and laptops which are available, and they've got all this thing set up even for free school meals, for kids who are eligible. But it's how quickly they're able to get it to these, less of, families and kids. And, by the time, for example, internet is set up, kids have already missed out a lot of education. So how quickly is all that happening and taking place? We have yet to see. I mean, I don't really know. I know of a few schools who've received, say, for example, laptops, and they are distributing it to some of the kids, but it's just not enough. It's still in process, like the government are saying. But then there's the mental health of our kids, are they, it's all very well doing homeschooling, more pressure on the parents. We've literally become teachers ourselves, so where's the support? My point here is, whether you're in UK or anywhere else, if there is something like that, we are acting as teachers, and where's the support? Should we get some sort of financial help to get these resources to our kids, while we're waiting for schools and the government to come and do something? But I think it'll be good to hear from Anita and Beth.
Yes,
I know Beth,
we're down to 6 minutes, and I want to ask them, both of them, how do you feel, you in particular, Anita, how do you feel that you have been set back? Have you, if you have, because of what's happening?
Majorly stressed over it all, because the amount of work they're putting up, but then obviously we missed half of year 10, and it's crazy because we missed half of year 10, but yet they're chucking up year 11 work. And it's just like, where's half that year 10 work gone when you need the year 11 work as well to do? And it's stressful. It really is stressful. But there's nothing we can do about it.
Thank you, Anita. And Beth, do you feel you've been set back, and how?
I feel like I've been set back a little bit because our school gave us the option to do the work instead of forcing us to do the work, and I forgot about school at that time.
Wow.
So was set back about half a year. I'm still in the grade that I'm supposed to be, but
So here's a question I'd like to ask both of you girls, and I'll start with you, Anita. If you could say something to the people making the rules regarding the whole education process during COVID, what suggestion would you have for them that you think would really benefit you and others like you
Well,
that are learning from home?
just take into account that people don't always have the right equipment. Yeah, okay, the government is saying we're going to give up laptops, going to give up iPads or whatever. But saying that obviously the government's in London, but I'm all the way down in Wales. Saying that people need it in Wales, we're going to miss out on a massive lot of learning that we already haven't not missed out on anyway. But it's just taking into account what they're doing and like how it's affecting young people's mental health, because it is affecting us quite big time.
Thank you, Anita. Same question, Bethany.
I think I would tell them to give out more stuff, like Anita said, and to keep in mind that basically the same thing that Anita said. I can't really think of much else.
Okay.
Well, here's your chance, girls, to come up with some policies, maybe, you know.
Yes, yes.
This is the time to say it out there, you know, well, this is what will work for us, you know, and
Yes.
again, you use this platform as a voice too, you know, I mean.
Yes, this is what we're trying to get you guys to say. Put it out there, because you never know who's watching this show that could make a difference. Tell us from the perspective of the child at home who is having to cope with the curriculum and do as well as you do in the classroom, what can be done by lawmakers that will benefit you and improve the situation? That's what I want to hear from each of you or one of you. Who wants to answer? Okay, I'll pick someone. You go, Anita.
I guess it was going to be me. I don't know. It's the fact that the government think that obviously with this COVID that is going to go away. It's not going to go away. It's going to be here for a while. I mean, people are going to have to just learn how to cope with it. I don't know if it's the same over there, but I know over here you go into the shop and there's like no one standing there, and everyone just goes basically on top of each other. I mean, start of the lockdown last year, we had people at the door of the shops giving out everything that you needed, making sure masks are worn and everything. And now you have no one. I mean, you just go in and people are like, you're like this, try not to touch no one. Just be more responsible of what you're doing.
Definitely, yeah, definitely. I mean, I'll add on to that, Anita, where, you know, I think us as, you know, human beings, we need to take on a bit more responsibilities. Even though the government are setting rules and guidelines, we mustn't ignore, you know, I mean, the professionals, the medical professionals, they're not, you know, they're saying it for a reason. If you don't have that in you to, you know, be aware of your own health and at least take a bit of responsibility if you are unwell, not to go out there and spread it. You know, it's all a little bit of, you know, responsibility on our end that we should all take on. I mean, supermarkets, I just went in earlier myself, and yes, you know, now they're saying people to wear masks. You know, if you don't have it on, then there's no entry. I mean, it's being put there for a reason. So yeah, I mean, again, just take on that responsibility on yourself as well. So that's really important, really.
Thank you. You know, I feel that it's unprecedented. It came out of nowhere. So it's not like we've had systems placed there because we knew this was coming. And I feel like every government is trying to do their best. And so as citizens of each of our countries, I think the way we can help is by doing our best, like you've all said, and respecting other people's space. You got it. And I'm sure you're not irresponsible, right? You and your family got it. It's not a joke. It's not a conspiracy like people say. I've watched so many people saying it's a conspiracy, it's not real, the numbers are lies, the hospital beds are empty. Well, I'm here to say it is real because I've been doing interviews around the world since March last year. I've done over 100 interviews in 30 plus countries, and I've heard the same stories everywhere. So COVID is real, and we need to treat it as such. And you young ladies, I'm so grateful you took the time to participate in this interview. But I would suggest that you think of ways that you have observed from your perspective that the government can amend their rules and their laws that will benefit young people more. And if it's not on my show, you can tell Sabia on her show and get it out there because you will benefit from it and all of your counterparts will also benefit. Because even though it's an uncomfortable time in the world, we will get through this if we all work together.
Yeah, and if I can add on to that as well, I mean, this is normally, there'd be work experiences for, in the UK for our GCSE level students, A-level students, and all of that, cannot take place. So again, I mean, my discussions with Anita were, and with a few other youth, that I have had come on the youth show, is this is our platform on Vodtalk now. This is your platform. This is your show. There are ways you can use this platform to have that experience, so work experience for us to even come up with ideas and do a production is like, well, what ways can we adapt? So it seems like, this virtual learning, this virtual way of having some sort of work experience, it does go a long way, again, which I mentioned earlier, with your motivation, confidence builder, your presentation skills, your speaking skills, all of that, time management, you name it, and managing a project as well. So it can be looked at as that too. So to gain that work experience, Vodtalk's giving that platform. And, I'm so proud to say that, we do have interests, from people like Anita and Beth and, a few others, who are already in there. And we hope that, it will just branch out and help all those young people out there. We started off with UK, London, we're going to Wales, we've got America, we want to be able to create that platform globally. And this is where you as young people, Anita and Beth, to probably learn a little bit about networking as well,
Yes.
so what we big adults do on an everyday basis, I think Jennylyn will know about networking, all too well, that networking is, this is the time, if you want to plan something, prepare something, meet new people, get to know people, and, bring out the topics that you want to be known out there. And that's when you actually do make that difference. Yeah.
I thank you all so much. We're out of time. Time always flies when I'm getting smarter and having conversations with inspiring people. So I'm very grateful to each of you for taking the time, and especially you, Bethany, since you're fearful and you've done this anyway. And I hope that somebody watching the show, some young person like yourself, will gather some inspiration and ways that they can utilize to help their lives better. And like Sabia said, pull your ideas and let's start making the change, because this is what it's all about. It's just fixing what is wrong for the better for everyone and staying safe.
Yes.
Thank you, Sabia. Thank you, Bethany. Thank you, Anita. And thank you so much for watching Conversations with Jennylyn. When a conversation is all you need to be inspired. And I will see you next time. Thank you.
Thank you.
Broadcasting from Silicon Valley, California, this is Conversations with Jennylyn.